IT एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बाद के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साफ मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूँ, IT plus IT is equal to IT. Information technology plus Indian talent is equal to India tomorrow.
Good afternoon and welcome back once again on day 2 of 21st World Education Summit. This is the 21st edition of the World Education Summit, and here we have another panel discussion. The topic of the panel discussion is what model of learning do we need for the future generations, the importance of mental well-being and the new age requirement of the education sector. And for this, we have a panelist, starting with our moderator, Mr. Lucknan McKinnon, Principal and CEO, Cambridge International School, Dubai. Welcome, sir.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Christopher Abraham, CEO and Head, Senior Vice President, SP Jain School of Global Management, Dubai. Welcome, sir. Dr. Anjali Murthy, Principal CEO, James Our Own High School, Al Warqa, Dubai. Welcome, ma'am. Ms. Sanchita Verma, Principal, Indian School, Sohar. Welcome, ma'am. Mr. Nitin Gupta, Co-founder and Director, Edu Vacancy. Welcome, sir. And Dr. Lena Francis, Principal, Indian School, Al-Seeb. Welcome, ma'am. And one more panelist is about to join me, Dr. Abino Koren, Principal, International Indian School, Abu Dhabi. She will be joining in the session between. For now, I'm just handing over the virtual dash to our moderator. Over to you, sir.
Fantastic. Thank you, Krishna. I'm hoping everyone can hear me well. Yeah? All right. Hi, everyone. Namaste. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where in the world you are. And we're the lucky last discussion panel for the day. So I do hope that you've had some inspiration over the last day in terms of some of the panels that you might have listened to. So again, my name is Lachlan McKinnon and I'm from GEMS Cambridge International School in Dubai. And I'm your moderator today. Don't forget also the Twitter handle, hashtag WES 2021. That'd be awesome if you could get out there and put some images onto that and some language that you think is important that you've learnt today. So just in case, again, if you're in the wrong room today, even though there's only one less left here today, our discussion is about what model of learning do we need for the future generations? That importance and the importance of well-being, how does that match together? So let me start off with some ground rules. And please do not hesitate to take calls, send emails, respond to WhatsApp messages. However, a little bit of a warning. That prefrontal cortex of ours can't multitask, okay? It's really well known. We can't multitask. Trust me, I did it this morning and sent the wrong email to the wrong people. As I went through WhatsApp, my emails, I own WhatsApp besides work. So please keep that in mind. It diminishes. So my suggestion to you, my advice, just take the 45 minutes without distraction, and you'd be surprised how much of that subconscious knowledge that you have maybe about the topic is actually going to come forward and become a conscious aspect, which maybe you can go forward with. And we have some amazing panelists today here along this, and they've been introduced already, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say as well. So let me hook in that prefrontal cortex. So today we've been bombarded with some amazing new design models, unbelievable over the last 18 months. I can't keep up with it as a principal, to be honest. I try, but I can't. And the learning and the promise that some of these things give us. And there's some significant educational benefits, including much of the AI, which is that customized learning tailored for each individual student. I'm amazed at how it impacts our kids, because that immediate feedback is really important, and AI is actually giving it to them. And there are many new applications being evaluated, produced, tested, and there's various models of online learning. So we are in the infinite game. We are in the infinite game of education. And we're the caretakers, the principals, us. We are the caretakers of our schools. But we are also the developers of what the future culture is going to look like. So what model of learning are we going to support for the future? And how does mental wellbeing play a part of it? So without any further ado, I'm going to open the panel to the questions to the panelists. And the first question is really an open question. So we have online, blended, physical. What is the way forward, and how can we reconcile differing expectations from students, teachers, and the community? I know already with Dubai coming back 100%, we've got some really different demands. So what are those cultural shifts that are required, maybe with your students, teachers, and community? So I'm going to throw that over to the panel. And as I mentioned to the panel earlier, those people that are quick off the mark with their mouse key are in first. Panelists, any of the panelists that want to answer that question?
Good afternoon, everyone, and a very interesting discussion that we are having today. And in Dubai, from 3rd, everyone's going to be back on campus. But having looked at the scenario, completely online, and of course, years and years of having children on the campus. But I strongly believe that the future of education is going to be blended learning. And why do I say that? Everything evolves. And over the last 1.5 years, there has been a paradigm shift in everyone's understanding. And blended learning is an evolution which is bringing about the best of both. We're going to have the face to face, and you can have the online, and children can do this independent learning, their self paced learning. So, I really believe that the future is going to have different degrees of blended learning. There'll be different models based on the curriculum the school is offering, the country the school is located in. But I do believe that it's going to be blended learning. In terms of the cultural shift, yes. What is the cultural shift? I do believe that parents, especially Indian parents, to a large extent, believe that being in the school and being taught by the teacher is very, very important. And I think that that has to be something which we as educators need to tell them, that yes, the teacher's role is important, but children do learn on their own. And it's very simple. You see a little child with a remote in his hand. No one teaches him, but he just learns to navigate and use that remote and switch on the television. So I think that's the cultural shift that needs to come in, of us accepting parents, students, and teachers, that children can learn on their own.
If I may continue, I think the future, as Dr. Anjali rightly said, is going to be blended. But here are some thoughts which I think we should go beyond the confines of United Arab Emirates, where we are blessed with infrastructure, technology, and by God's grace, the safety and security, even in a post COVID era. But let's say, for example, let's look at India. And the reason why I'm bringing India, it could be any country, any developing nation. The COVID pandemic has opened up a plethora of learning opportunities for all of us. It tells us the power of technology that can reach out to the unreached, which means are there means and mechanisms by which we can reach out to the poorest of the poor through mobile technologies and make this learning available to the so-called underprivileged and unfortunate children. Dr. Anjali again spoke about a very important thought of self-learning. And there's a fascinating experiment done by Dr. Sugata Mitra. It's called the hole in the wall. It was done in the 1990s, late 1990s, an absolutely amazing, eye opening experiment where the professor proved that children, even with no or little literacy, were actually able to handle computers. So I think there's a big lesson for us. We need to shift our mindsets as teachers and professors from teaching to learning. So the focus should be on how do we engage the child, how do we engage the student if it's higher education, and how do we make it exciting and interesting. Now, culturally, I think yes, parents is a big, I would like to call it a stumbling block. I myself am a parent of three kids. So our mindsets are different. Our expectations are different. And as she rightly said, when the child goes to school, it's the responsibility of the teachers at the school to take care of my kid. And I think that mindset needs to change. We need to have more meaningful conversations with all of them. I have another, I would say, out of the ordinary idea, which is we need to engage all the stakeholders. When policies are being made, these are made by very senior bureaucrats, very senior government officials. God bless them. But I think it should involve heads of institutions like us. It should involve parents. And most importantly, it should involve students. What's more comfortable for you, what is exciting for you, and I think that involvement will give us lots of insights. When we redesigned our campus, we threw open a competition to everybody. So we had the professors, the staff, and the students. Guess what? The final entries were our undergraduate students, the first year and second year students, who came out with some amazing ideas of how a modern classroom should look like. And I think increasingly these meaningful conversations, the democratization and reach of education would be, steps in the right direction. Yes, blended learning is going to be there, but let's also understand technology is one thing, but we are social creatures. We need that social connection to our social brains to create that relevance of community, relevance of collaborations, and relevance of cooperation. So these would be my opening remarks, and thank you once again for this opportunity.
Thank you.
So, may I take it?
Please.
Yeah. So, taking it further from Miss Anjali and Mr. Abraham, I too agree about blended learning. And when I think about blended learning, it is blended learning or hybrid learning is the future. And and we will be able to create independent learners, and we can only think about the digital divide in our own country, and we feel that we are very very fortunate to be in Oman or in UAE to have so many facilities for the technology, and we have to take all the stakeholders in consultation, where if there is any policy, so Dr. Abraham is talking about co-constructing a policy so that we can take the fears, the apprehensions, suggestions, and advantage, benefits, drawbacks from everybody, and we can evolve a policy, because when people participate and people are consulted, probably they do a better job. But in this digital age, what is happening, hybrid or blended is good. Some children are here, and then rotation wise, weekly rotation, days rotation, or whatever. But what we should not forget, because a very important sub theme of this discussion is also about mental well-being. So what about that connect, teacher to teacher connect, teacher to student connect, teacher to parent connect. So while we do this blended learning or hybrid learning, we have to think about establishing that connect also. So these are my opening remarks.
Thank you, Sanjeev.
If I can, yes, may I
Please,
continue from what Sanjana ma'am has spoken?
please, please
Yeah.
do.
Technology, of course, has its own large impact on the user's mental and physical health. So, having heard from the other three panelists, I would like to touch upon the mental aspects of this digital world. Reliance on the digital technology has fueled the concern for the parents and the teachers, government, and young people themselves. The digital technologies and social media are accelerating the feelings of anxiety and depression, disturbing the sleep patterns, leading to cyberbullying and distorting the body language. None of us can say it is not happening, it is happening. Distraction caused by the technology, expectation of the instant gratification, then narcissism, then cognitive losses, psychological health problems from the electronic usage, deficits in social skills, sense of isolation. There are a lot more if I can start counting it. And I'm just trying to put them into three different categories. The first category, of course, the social issues, what is being accompanied because of this technological, say, we can say, overflow into our lives. The next one is health or the biological issues. It could be your vision problems, it could be hearing problems, it could be a neck strain, sitting too much. Generally, these are all issues because of this. Another issue is definitely the psychological issues, which is not seen, but it can be felt in all the stakeholders, be it the child, the student, the mother, father, and the teacher, of course. So these are the various issues what we are facing. And then having said all this, none of us can be away from technology now. It has been really into our lives. Yes, once the pandemic started, then the number of hours what we spent on this, it has really accelerated like anything. So, we being educators, what I am trying to speak is, or trying to put in the panel discussion is that how well we are going to get adapted, get collaborated with all this technology. This is what my point over here. So, as rightly said, all the other panelists, we being educators, we have to look into this in a much serious aspect. The first and foremost, the awareness of the threats and the remedies. The problem we are very clear, but then we should be aware about the remedies and solutions, and along with the other stakeholders. We alone cannot do. We need the society with us, the family with us. I'm sure all of you will agree with me. We were not at all teaching our students. We were in fact teaching the family during the digital media. So then the families, see, there are different emotional setup. There could be a fight among the spouse and the father and mother. And into that, our teacher is teaching. So there are a lot of instances where we know the take by the student is being definitely affected, influenced. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Shall I take now?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think, thank you, sir. I think all the panelists have discussed about the blended learning and they already have put points related to that. And I think the last one was more about the mental well-being. So already a lot of things have been discussed. I'm going to put it in a different way now. The most important is what model of learning do we need for future generations? The one thing is very clear. Blended learning and everything is okay, but the most important thing is we need to actually implement the value add programs along with the school education and the college education so that our candidates can become better employable in the future, because we all know one thing very clear: what jobs are available today, down the line 10 years, 80% of those jobs are not going to be there in the market. So whatever technology we are using, whatever systems we are using, 5 years down the line, they all are going to become obsolete. So continuous value addition for a student is very important, and we really need to impart that kind of knowledge to the students, how they can add value every day in their life so that they are ready for the future opportunities of the world. That is one. Second is, we all know that once the students complete their undergraduate or MBA programs, and after coming out of the schools to the colleges, nobody actually teaches them how to handle the corporate pressure or the stress out there in the corporate environment. And I think that is something very important. because the importance of mental well-being is not only at the time when they are studying. It's very important for whole life of a student. If we can seriously teach him how to handle those stressful environments in the corporate world or the world where they have to work or do business, I think, trust me, we are definitely going to make a better tomorrow for the entire world. So that is something very, very important according to me. And as I already mentioned, that the value add programs, the skill enhancement programs, we need to add them along with the regular learning. So that is something which is required now. And after that, when we are integrating the teaching, learning, everything in a blended form, we all need to work on the continuous assessment of the students, and we need to continuous evaluate them and give them continuous feedback so that that can lead to the continuous improvement of the kids. So that continuous assessment, continuous evaluation, continuous feedback leading to the continuous improvement is also very, very important. That is all from my side in the opening note.
Thank you. I mean, I think we all agree, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, considering we're educators, that the hybrid model obviously is something that we know has potential. And online learning and artificial intelligence that comes with it, I think clearly we can see that. But the nuances of that social interaction is just as important, if not arguably more. Because, Mr. Natil, as you've just said, without that understanding, knowledge is useless. Without the ability for us to transform that knowledge into something changeable, it's wasted. You can learn all the times the multiplication tables in the world, and it's not going to help you if you can't talk to someone about it or figure something out or relate the information forward. So we certainly do understand that, and I think we do agree with that. One thing I probably want to mention before I go on to the next question, I think we need to be accounting for is our staff, our teachers. Our teachers, and this is where the hybrid is a little bit, in my mind anyway, I argue with myself about this, because our teachers over the last, they're our heroes, and they have been unbelievable for the last 18 months. I know my staff went from literally 0 to 100, trying to understand Teams, Zoom, all the breakout rooms, all the different things, the nuances of the technology. We weren't as far ahead as others, but tell you what, within a month, they were like smack right on it. And that meant a lot of tenacity and a lot of work, hard work by these teachers. And I do see a massive amount of stress that comes with that. There is a lot more pressure for our teachers. They've got their parents at home now watching every moment and critiquing the professional online. And those stresses do add up. So I want us to keep that in the back of my mind. I think when we talk about hybrid being the way forward, I think it does play a place. It's just how we use it moving into the future. I think that's the tricky bit. And that's the part I think, I'd like our panelists to think about as we move through today. So if you come up with some sort of, epiphany of how we can blend these two together without this stress on those teachers, so that we can continue with this amazing artificial intelligence and this intelligence going forward. So I'm going to skip through a question because I think some of you have answered the next question, which is about what sort of, I think we agree there are future learning technologies and the techniques that we're going to be using with them. But are there different skills that you can, and I'll open this up to panelists again, I think this is probably the best way. Do you see any new skills evolving because of this new hybrid approach in the digital learning environment? Yes.
So let's contextualize it for the COVID. So during the mid of the COVID pandemic, and this was prior to the vaccination, which, the breakthroughs that took place in December, August, September, the World Economic Forum, through Harvard professor John Cao, identified 6 critical intelligences, which they said would be critical for survival and thriving in the new era. The first one was contextual intelligence. This also validates what Mr. Gupta said in terms of value-added skills that we need. Contextual intelligence, which is the ability to understand things from multiple perspectives and see things for what they are, not as what they appear. which means scanning the various information sources and getting the right kind of data to take wise decisions, aided, of course, through technology. The second skill they spoke about, which I think is extremely critical, is moral and ethical intelligence. In a world that's becoming increasingly transparent, ethical moral prerogatives are top of the order, and we need that. Now, here's a very interesting insight, which is unfortunately not practiced in most academic institutions. It's a very interesting framework by the University of Pennsylvania called Values in Action, or the VIA framework. And the VIA framework talks about each individual's character strengths based on a broad 24 character framework. So, after doing that exercise for about 20-30 minutes, you are able to discover what are my key six character strengths. It could be courage, it could be spirituality, it could be love and compassion, it could be empathy, so on and so forth. It also gives me an insight that I can explore 18 other character strengths and I can build on them. So rather than look at what is wrong with us, which is what psychology has been doing for 100 years, I think it's time to look at what is right with us. So ethical and moral intelligence. The third one is emotional and social intelligence, which again is so critical when you talk about transversal skills, the ability to collaborate, the ability to work in teams, the ability to emote with others, the ability to respect others' feelings, extremely important, goes without saying. And the fourth skill they speak about is generative intelligence. And generative is nothing but another word for innovation and design thinking and creativity. Generative, the ability. And the good news is that we all have an awesome God given brain that has the right side and the left side. A lot of us compartmentalize it saying, I'm a left brain, I'm a right brainer. Sorry, 21st century belongs to the whole brain thinker. So, whole brain thinking. Then the last two ones, one is technology slash digital intelligence, which goes without saying, everybody needs to be tech savvy. And the last one is transformational intelligence, the ability to lead, the ability to influence, the ability to impact, and the ability to make a difference. Transformational intelligence. And I think these are extremely powerful and go beyond the conventional realm of communication, problem solving, critical thinking, whatever, and combine that with character building. I think it would be a formidable combination. Those would be my thoughts.
Yeah,
Having,
you know,
shall I take up?
sure.
Having hearing from Dr. Abraham, in fact, he has covered almost all the new skills which teachers supposed to be having it. Uh, I just want to touch upon that. We normally say that an empty lantern provides no light. Self-care is a fuel that allows your light to shine brightly. So we do speak about teachers wearing multiple hats. It's important for us to also acknowledge the weight of these hats. A teacher multiplies as a mentor, as a counselor, as a coach, as a nurse, as a motivator, and an event planner. And this list is endless. I'm sure all of you will be agreeing with me. So then the teacher's work is not just limited to the stoic pedagogies, but also altruistic in its essence. Small, say it could be a paychecks or poor incentives and perceived stagnation, increasing demands have led to greater levels of stress in their job. So when we are demanding certain new skills from them, we have to keep all these points also into our mind. The bags filled with the notebooks to be corrected, meeting deadlines for submission of thoroughly checked assessment sheets. Somewhere the teacher's well-being has never been a topic of discussion. So I rather would like to touch upon these points because unless and until the service provider, the facilitator is being happy and satisfied, I don't think 100% of perfection we can get into the teaching learning process. Thank you.
So may I take it? What I feel that corona pandemic has taught us more about well-being of the students and well-being of the teachers, and it is all the more considered now than before. And when this education started online, we did consider teacher burnt out issues, though I feel principals burnout issues were not considered, but teacher burnout issues were considered, and a lot of help was provided in the form of webinars or a school counselor or this session. That's so many things were provided. So now what happened? Hybrid or blended learning started. So when I spoke to my teacher, so I was thinking how to give them this confidence. So I said, guys, when those challenging times you could navigate, you knew nothing, you were sitting at home and you went online only by remote trainings. So now you know face to face and you know online. Now it's easy. You have to combine. So I thought maybe that way that they feel that yes, no, yes, I know both. Whereas when I started online, I knew nothing. Then we did discuss that what are the challenges. So now the challenges of student engagement or a classroom management, how to engage students physically and on one hand in your laptop. How do you manage your classroom when it is partitioned into two? And if online had some technical issues, now here the technical issues will be of two types: what the teacher might face in the class and what children are facing at home. So we discussed with the staff that what do you think are your challenges? And what do you then we worked out on the solutions. So my suggestion and advice to all the school administrators, educational administrators, and to all the staff, be very soft on yourself. Learn to manage your classes in week one. No need to look for very high tech solutions in week one. Children are coming back after 1.5 years. They have forgotten the school space. They've forgotten the physical spaces of the school. And
Absolutely.
in between, many new children join the school who haven't seen the school. So better to take care of all these issues, and surely we will improve each day, each week. It has to go, it has to be better, and it will be better. With this, only what are we doing? We are offering educational access to large number of students, and online or hybrid, we are trying to close, we are trying to bridge the learning gaps. That is what I have to say.
May I?
Thank you. Yes, please, Dr. Angela.
Yeah, after listening to everyone, I think everyone said it, but so when I got this question, and definitely well-being is something I would agree with Dr. Sanchita, that everyone became very conscious about well-being, because we did know that children were cooped up in their houses, and just seeing a screen, and the teachers definitely having to do a 360 flip in the way they were teaching. That was definitely something we were very conscious about. But as the children started coming back to the school, I noticed something, and I'm sure all of you would have noticed, their social skills were really down. Walking in the corridors, it was very, very normal for us to hear the children saying good morning, good morning. And I found it really strange with their masks on. And I was literally going into their face and saying, "Good morning, child." And, slowly building that up. So social skills took a big beating as far as our children were concerned. And when I spoke to the children yesterday, I just got in some senior boys, and I said, what's it like, to be back? And boys being boys, they said, "Ma'am, we love our PE classes." And I said, "And what about being on campus and in the lab?" That's all right, but we love our PE classes. And the younger ones, some said, "Oh, ma'am, I love going into the music room." So, these are the very important things that the children missed out on. But when we look at it, any type of education, we've always focused on skills. We talked about 21st century skills. And so we said children need to be collaborators and critical thinkers and, whatever. We've talked the 3 C's and the 3 R's or whatever. We've done that. But when we look at, the transversal skills, and we say that a child needs to have those skills which they can use when they are in the real world. And what's that real world? That real world is going to be technology driven. It's going to be technology driven and more in the years to come. So what has this period done? Definitely it's equipped teachers and children with the technology skills, but I feel there's a gap in terms of empathy and resilience. I really feel that that's something educators will have to work on. And like we were conscious about mental well being, I think now we have to be conscious about have they lost their connect? Are they going to be empathetic? Are they going to be resilient? I think this is something which is a big focus. A plus point for me in terms of transversal skills is adaptability. That's something which in any interview they ask people, what's going to be your reaction to a setback, or they give them a situation. And I think, again, the last 18 months has made everyone very adaptable. So that's been a plus point, a good skill that most of us have developed. But I think resilience and being empathetic is something we need to work on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Natil, would you like to add anything to that, or you're okay?
Yeah, I think they've already spoken about the empathy and the social skills which they were lacking because they were at home. And I see it from one more perspective because since it's a blended learning now, we all know that the physical campuses are there and students are going to come to the physical campus also, but they are used to with the online learning also. I think the schools and colleges and universities should take advantage of it and create the self-paced learning modules also, because at times you have got very good teachers with you. They may not be there whole life with your college or school. And this is the time when you can record them properly, the basic concepts or the fundamental concepts or something which they are very good at. And you can always create it on the LMS system as self-paced learning modules where these teachers, they may not be there, but that particular, documents and the videos and everything is going to be the asset of the school, which can be used for years and years out there. So I think the blended learning, this is also one of the other ways to use the technology and create some very strong video and assessment library with the teachers which are present today and with the teachers who are going to come in future. So I think that is also something which is going to help a lot the students, as well as that is going to help a lot the parents also, because at the end of the day, if they are not understanding something in live classes or maybe in the physical classes, they can go back to the self-paced learning modules and go through those concepts and revise those concepts again and again. And the plus point is going to be the best of the teacher is going to give the best of the concept related to which particular sub area of the subject he is an expert in. So I think that is something which is very, very important now when we are going for the future learning. This can add a lot of value for all the organizations.
At this point, I would like to add one point, may I?
Sure.
It's in connection with MOOC, that is massive online open courses. There are excellent universities and n number of courses. It could be of 2 weeks time or 10 hours, and innumerable amount of topics are being provided. And I'm so happy to say that many of the students at various levels, they have taken up and it's going through. So just like one of the other panelists said, Mr. Nitin, it is something which the resources is being now open to all the students, all the stakeholders. They need not just wait for the teacher to come and teach them. They can take up anything. That's number one point. The other point I just want to touch upon is the deep learning. It has become student-centered. We all know about it. And then which level they have to get into the deep learning is they are the ones who are deciding. The role of the teacher has definitely, we have been talking about the role of the teacher as a facilitator centuries before. But in reality, this is a time when it has become into practice. The students, it has become student-centered and they have to get into their kind of course. They need not wait only for the curriculum what is being designed for them, but they have to take up a number of topics of their thoughts, their liking, their pace of learning, with the minimum cost, rather free. I should even say there are many courses which are free. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, there's definitely technology as an enabler. We know that. And you've just talked about MOOC courses, and programs like, not programs, but companies like Khan Academy have been running many of these amazing things for a number of years. And self-paced learning is a choice. And kids and even adults like choices. And when we have choices as adults and as kids, we own it more. And they're in a sense, their dopamine levels increase in the mind. So, which puts every child in the right space when we get that learning. And there's no doubt that there are multiple dimensions of well-being. There's positive education, positive psychology, mindfulness, but they all play an integral part, by the sounds of it and what you're saying, to brain function. And that's the part we need to convince our parents about as well. Because most of you, and I think you guys at my school as predominantly Indian, and there is that belief of structure and make sure everything is in there, and those soft skills are sometimes missed. And what I think, and it comes back to Dr. Chris, what you were saying about values and action. There's a school in Australia called, sorry, I'm Australian, and I'll sell it. Geelong Grammar School. You might want to look it up.
I'm in touch with them.
Okay, yeah, great. They've been doing some amazing stuff for numbers of years before the pandemic. And they use positive education as their program all the way through. So very much playing to that concept of what are the students, these, for one of the better words, soft skills, are going to use, not that I like that word, sorry, because it's not, it's a strong, these are big, important things. Because when the kids have that, as you've all said, they're in a state, what we call a toward state, where their mind and those dopamines are alive. And that is when you learn most. Your mind, when it's in that state, is when you will learn most. And what's happening at the moment, as Dr. Angela, you mentioned before, kids are coming back in a what we call sort of an away state. They're unsure. They're afraid of getting connected with people again. They're unsure of how those things are going. And when that happens, that's a threat model in the mind. And that, in a sense, raises cortisol levels in the brain. So straight away, they have this away state, and everything suddenly becomes not great. And everything they perceive is actually natural, actually ends up being a problem for them. So we have to move their mindset into this dopamine space. And it can be done so simply. But we've got to get our staff, I think. I look back and listen to you in terms of, do our staff, and I reflect on my own as well, do our staff really understand the importance of this? That's the first step. And then the second one is the community. So I know this is probably not one of the questions that came up, but I'm going to ask you this. How do we engage our community in understanding that these skill sets are really important, and that we spend time in the morning looking at positive education, etc. And I still get complaints from parents going, they should be doing more maths, they should be doing more English, they should be doing more physics. How do we get our parents? Have you got any tricks in the trade of how you can get your parents? Please.
Yes, I'm very excited by this because we started an experiment a few years back. We renamed our campus as the Happiness Campus because it's a science. Happiness is no longer what we think it is. It's a science.
Correct.
It's a hardcore science, thanks to people like Martin Seligman, University of Pennsylvania, University of Melbourne, a whole lot of stuff, University of Birmingham. There's lots of work that's happening in the research space. You spoke about dopamine, sir. I'd like to add a dose to it, DOSE.
Please.
It's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. We call these, for simple understanding, happy chemicals. And the good news is that each one of these chemicals can actually be enhanced through a set of practices. Ma'am spoke about resilience. Again, resilience can be taught. Grit, compassion, all these things can be taught to children. And I think we need to take a very bold, courageous step that it's not about math and English, what we call the 3 R's, the old style. We have come a long way from that. We need to create better human beings, which comes with character, which comes with values, which comes with ethics, which comes with grit and resilience. Again, I'm unashamedly saying this. In most Asian cultures, failure is looked down upon. We need to create a culture of celebrating failures among our students. What's wrong? There's nothing wrong in failing. And we need to bring those real stories. One of the simplest videos I play is the 3-minute video, which starts with Michael Jordan and then goes on to Abraham Lincoln. And in between, you have all the superstars, including Lionel Messi and Dr. Seuss and all these people. And then these guys are having like light bulb moments. And we need to show more and more of this. We need to pick and choose specific stories that happen in some of the most remote places and where people are making a difference, you know. And then once people see that, number one, they feel a sense of gratitude. Gratitude is then again an amazing, dopamine producing thing. The ability to say thankfulness, being thankful, the ability to forgive, the ability to be compassionate. These are human traits, God given human traits built into our nervous system. And this needs to go out loud and clear. So I think it's time now. Thankfully, I hope some parents and children are listening to what we're saying. And the good news is it's all there. And I think the onus is on us. So we created the campus, we created happiness ambassadors, but we have done quite a bit of stuff there. So we said, okay, it's all nice. We're talking all this. What do we do in action? So we put a bunch of students on the job. And what they did was they said, we want to give gifts to refugee children in refugee camps. Okay, go figure it out. We're not going to tell you how you're going to do it. So we call them love letters. So they wrote love letters, handwritten love letters to children. They took bunches of books and stationery and goodies and sent it across to Palestine, Syria. And I think children are capable of doing it. I leave with one last thought. I think we need to emphasize the power of learning, unlearning, and relearning. It's a continuous process, and we need to emphasize that. Those would be my comments.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Does anyone want to add?
May I add on?
Good. Dr. Lena.
Over here in Oman, we are having an excellent practice of happiness curriculum. One period, that is 40 to 45 minutes, each week we are devoting for practicing, making them to understand the importance of happiness through various activities, starting from class 5, 6, 7, and 8. And today, when I was just going to the reports of that happiness curriculum, I was so amazed, and I thought I must tell this share from this or this forum. The kind of activities and the kind of happiness what they evolved during this period, it was amazing. That is one of the activities what we do. The second point of my over here I would like to speak about is care for ourselves. It's something which you always forget. Please kind be to yourself, or rather ourselves. And every cell of our body is definitely cooperating and trying to do the best. And have you ever appreciated, give a pat to your own shoulder saying that, come on, you are doing very good. We are busy discussing and completing our work in any crisis. But then I would rather say that we have to care for ourselves. Listen to our body. Be kind to this. Appreciation every cell of our body with tremendous capacities. And again, my body is mine, and we have to definitely respect it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, just 30 seconds. No, I just wanted to share a very important good news for all the principals, all of you. There is a beautiful curriculum designed by Dr. Laura Santos from the Elets School, which is a wellness curriculum exclusively for schools. It's available free of cost. Just put Elets School of Management, Laura Santos, wellness curriculum. You can download it and implement it to your schools. Just thought I should tell you that.
Yeah, I just want to add that, what everyone is saying, I think well-being is something that we should not use just as a term, but something that we need to be very conscious about. And, like you have, for example, an action plan for improvement in school. Okay, my teachers need to deliver outstanding lessons, or my children need to excel in academics in grade 10 or 12. I think the underlying factor for all this is for us to ensure that there's well-being of the staff as well as the children, because if we are able to bring in that culture of well-being, then everything else is definitely just going to happen. The children will perform well, the teachers will deliver good lessons. So I think the onus is definitely on us to ensure that well-being is something which is, we believe in it and we make sure that it happens in our campuses. And the second point, very important for us to involve all stakeholders, which everyone has said, because to make the shift for parents to understand that it's not about academics, but it's about skills which the children need. This shifting this mindset of, okay, academics is really crucial, but the skill development requires a very close partnership.
Absolutely. Thank you. Can I ask another question, a little bit side? Maybe Mr. Gupta, you might want to answer this. Do you think that students need to be examined in the way we're doing it now?
Can you repeat? I think I missed out.
Yeah, that's right. Do you think that students need to be examined now that we're in this new, well, slight change of environment?
Yeah, they need to be examined, but in a different way now, because instead of having they have to be continuously examined, I would say, because now we have got the online system, and we have got a blended system, so we can continuously examine them, and the auto results can come out, the analytics can be generated for a student for an entire year, because now we can use the AI ML to generate the analytics and see where they have not performed well, which particular topic, which particular subtopic. I think we can go and drill down to the last level also now, because that facility is there with the online system, which we are in any case using as a blended thing. So I think the analytics which we can generate for every student by end of the year, we will be in a better position to tell them, like, these are the areas you have to do it this way. Even continuously every 2 months also we can tell them, but at the end of the year we can always guide them on that part. Because of these guidance in between, you have improved up to this level, but next year if you're going to do this way, your improvement is going to be much better than what exactly you have done this year. So I think this blended learning is also giving us this opportunity to continuously analyze and give them the analytics which can help them out to develop in the areas where they are weak, and improve further in those areas.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Sanjita. Just unmute for us.
No, we can't.
You just have to unmute, Ms. Sanjita. Can you unmute?
So it's about testing and measurement and assessments and evaluations. And when it comes to our Indian system, we believe in test scores and marks rather than deepening the understanding of the students or acquiring a skill set. But I feel that this system is going to change with the new education policy 2020. It should be continuous and comprehensive assessment, and teachers should be using this assessment data for student learning, not only evaluate a child and leave them up to this. And as Mr. Gupta has said, that it is now possible, these analytics can be used for understanding and for employing some remedial measures for the child. So assessments may be there, but it may be of different type of measures. And in our system, we are seeing that the SAFAL is coming there with class 5, 8 or 3, 5 and 8. But then SAFAL is not for promoting or not promoting the child. It is about understanding the child. So it's about assessment and evaluation, but how are we using that data is very, very important.
I would like to just add one, if you can give me 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I would like to add one more thing that is very important out here, is because now, when we talk about the school education, there are three parties involved. One is the school, where the teachers and principal, they are there. Second is the students, and third is the parents. In the physical system, we only used to invite parents for the PTM, where they used to come and just to understand what their kid is doing and what their kid has done in the past. I think with this online mode, where they are now accepting the online mode, the school should design even the parents training also, maybe 20 hours training a year or something like that, so that they can attend from their own ease of their own place, and they can be trained, because a lot of parents, they have got their own demand from the kids, and because of that, there is a big mismatch what the kid's performance is and what they are expecting from him, and his teachers are really worried on that part, because they are unable to solve that problem. So I think schools have got now the opportunity to design even 15-20 hours parents training modules for the year so that everybody should be on the same page. And I think that is definitely going to make a big difference in the system.
Yeah, coming back to
All
the
right.
evaluation, I just got a minute. One is it should be application oriented. We should leave the rote memory system and move on to applications and projects. The second thing which we are experimenting currently, which ties with the power of collaboration. So instead of just individual assignments, we are giving equal weightage to group assignments, where people have to collaborate, people have to confront, people have to conflict and also contribute. So I think our mode of assessment and what we assess should also change from testing their memory to testing their learnings and skills.
So more on
If I can,
competency
if I can
based about
add
learning.
on, if I can add on one point, that is one is about know your attitude. That is after this grade 10, when they are choosing their higher education, the combination, whether it is be humanities or commerce or science, instead of just going by above 80% go for science, above 60% go for commerce, it will be definitely better if the child is undergoing know your attitude test. And once that is being taken care and let them choose it, not just that everyone is having a mindset of getting into the engineering or medicine. It will be definitely appropriate for us to promote this kind of know your attitude and then getting it. That's number one. The second thing is that as Dr. Chris or Mr. Gupta was talking about the parent awareness, we are having an excellent practice that is on VHV, that is virtual home visit. So this during this virtual home visit, we do make sure that we are talking about the positive aspect of the child. What does the child do in the class, or rather, what is expected of the child, instead of just telling that that is what happened, this is not happened, or the mark is not given. So VHP is one of the good practices what we do, and it's really been successful. Another point is about the parent awareness, is about the webinars what we conduct or talk shows what we do on various contemporary topics, be it the cyber bullying, be it the cancer awareness program, and the peep into puberty. This last week we have done it. So these kind of various contemporary topics what we take, and then we do go for the talk shows, wherein we involve the parents also. It's not that a resource person from outside is coming and giving a talk. No. It is the collaboration of the parents, teachers, and then the resource person. Together, we go for it. So awareness programs are inevitable in our system, and it's happening beautifully well. So these 2 points I just wanted to speak about in terms of the coming back to the examinations and assessments. All the panelists have very well spoken about. I just want to add one thing. We all Indian system is having an affinity towards the marks. 100 out of 100. If it's 99.5 or something, some big failure has happened, which is wrong. We have to definitely move from the competency-based learning other than the mark-based examination. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm just conscious that I've got Krishna there waiting for us patiently. So let me finish up. I'm trying to sort of close it up a little bit. One thing I probably want you to look at maybe is the OEC 2030 learning framework. If you've had a look at that, they're very clear with the competencies, which is about knowledge, skills, attitudes and values. And they have a similar weighting from the way they design their logo to well-being. So clearly, that has been seen as an integral part of what we do. And whether you want to call it positive psychology, mindfulness, positive education, it doesn't matter. Simply happy people perform better. And when they are happy, they solve more problems and they come up with more ideas due to that increase in dopamine, right? So we understand that. I think we get that. But there has been a massive technology shift. And it has been an educational leveler. I love technology in that sense that places like that I've worked in the slums of Africa now have access to a certain degree to lots of this technology, which means they can become self-paced. So I think that's important to understand. But we need to take on board that working with people is messy. It's not simple working with people. But education is not manufacturing. We are the protectors of a cultural contribution. And no society is going to be any greater than the teachers within it. And we have to make sure that coinciding with this, that we continue to upskill our teachers. Because according to UNESCO, we need another 68 million teachers for everyone to be engaged with learning. And that's going to be hard to make that happen, but we need to keep everybody. So AI, artificial intelligence, certainly plays a part. It's never going to replace a teacher. I'm going to put that out there and say it loud. Bricks and mortar are here to stay, but it's how we integrate the two, I think, which is important. How we engage with technology, how we integrate with technology, how we upskill teachers and our parents past this post-pandemic. Thank you very much. It's been great listening to you, our panelists. You've contributed so much to this, and I'm hoping the people attendees have listened and picked up something inspiring today as well. Krishna, I'll throw it back to you now. I think it's time to finish up. We've just gone over by 1 minute.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful panel discussion discussed by panelists and well moderated by our session moderator. I'm sure delegate will have a very good learning and thoughtful takeaway from this session. Moving further, we are going with the speaker certificate as a token of thanks, starting with Mr. Lachlan McKinnon, Principal and CEO, Cambridge International School, Dubai. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining this session.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Christopher Abraham, CEO and Head, Senior Vice President, SP Jain School of Global Management, Dubai, UAE. Thank you, sir. Dr. Anjali Murthy, Principal CEO, James Aroon High School, Al Warqa, Dubai.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Sanchita Verma, Principal, Indian School, Shohar. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Binu will not join in this session due to some emergency. So moving on with the Dr. Lena Francis, Principal, Indian School, Alsi. And last week, Mr. Nitin Gupta, co-founder and director, ED Vacancy. So thank you all the panelists. And before closing the session, I would like to announce our upcoming events that will be a physical event in December 17 and 18. So that will be a 22nd edition of our World Education Summit. And we're going to announce that event. And the event will be happening in Delhi in a physical way. So look forward to connect with you all in a physical events in our upcoming events. Till then, thank you all the panelists and our moderator for this wonderful session.
Thank you very much. And let me finish with may your cortisol levels stay low, may your dopamine levels stay high, and may your serotonin levels build to a lovely plateau. Have a great weekend.
We are very happy to share our opinion, our thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.